Greetings, Japan fans. Today's show, we're going to talk about on-the-job training. Baishu, arigatou gozaimasu. And welcome back to the 11th year of the Leadership Japan series. I'm your host in Tokyo, Dr. Greg Story, Dale Carnegie Tokyo franchise owner, president of Dale Carnegie Tokyo Training, and the 3-time best-selling author of Japan Sales Mastery, which is Zaegyo in Japanese, Japan Business Mastery, and Japan Presentations Mastery, or in Japanese, Anata mo Prezen no Tachiden. My other books include Stop Wasting Money on Training, which in Japanese is Training de Okane o Muda ni suru no wa yamimashou. And my just released new book is Japan Leadership Mastery, and all are available on Amazon. This podcast brings insights, examples, and experience about leading in Japan. Trust me, it is different here. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast with your family, friends, and colleagues. We're not being sponsored by Libsyn, but we value your privacy, which is why we have our podcast hosted by Libsyn. Unlike many other hosting organizations, Libsyn have a strict policy that does not allow access to your private information by anyone. Here is our daily podcast lineup on Apple Podcasts. Mondays, the Cutting Edge Japan Business Show podcast. Tuesday, the Presentation Japan series. Every second Tuesday, the Business Touches You Know Share Show. Wednesdays, the Sales Japan series. Thursdays, the Leadership Japan series. And every second Thursday, the Business Pro Podcaster Show. Fridays, the Japan Business Mastery Show podcast. Saturdays, Japan's top business interviews. Before we get going, today's handy Japanese phrase is gakkarishita, gakkarishita, gakkarishita. What a disappointment. Something doesn't go well, lose the deal, your suitcase gets lost in transport. Something bad happens to you, you can say, gakkarishita. I'm so disappointed. Oh no, this is a major disaster. Gakkarishita, gakkarishita, gakkarishita. Now, this is episode number 587. Today we're talking about the collapse of the on-the-job training in Japan. A wake-up call for companies. When I first got to Tokyo in 1979, there was a very well-established corporate educational system in Japan. Unlike universities in Australia, where you studied a subject and expected to work in a closely related field, Japan was concentrating on producing generalists. It didn't matter what you'd studied at university because the company would educate you on what you needed to know. I also discovered that the tertiary educational system was broken, so companies couldn't rely on universities to educate the young. I was so surprised to realize that except for those entering professions like law, medicine, architecture, etc., and needing to pass national exams, most students were living their best life at their parents' expense. Think of a 4-year sojourn at Club Med, and you get the flavour of spending most of your time engaging in club activities and working part-time jobs rather than studying. The principal education tool for companies wasn't formal training. There were a few weeks at the start as new grads were onboarded when you learnt about the firm, systems, and the basic etiquette of business. After that, your senpai or seniors and your boss would teach you the ropes. As everyone joined the firm for life, there was a logic in the boss spending their valuable time grooming the next generation. In 1978, the first Japanese language word processor was developed, which allowed everyone to type in Japanese more easily. There were still secretarial pools in those days, so the boss didn't have to get their hands dirty playing around with this tech. In November 1995, Windows 95 was launched in Japan, which made it easy for anyone to access the internet. With the take-up of email, the boss was now required to write their own emails, and gradually the secretarial pool went the way of the dodo. The upshot is that this change meant the boss and the senpai were now much busier than before doing their own emails and their own typing. The amount of time available to train the next generation on the job went down, and has been down ever since. There was no supplementation with formal training because the OJT system was so accepted as all that was needed. These changes are glacial, so they didn't attract much attention on the way through, but things did change. Where are we today? During COVID, we found a not very amusing contradiction with Japanese corporate training. Those domestic Japanese companies who had already come to the realization that corporate training was required just stopped in their tracks. They cancelled set classes because of COVID and were worried about the safety aspects of people getting together. Find out more when we come back from the break. Today's show is brought to you by our public courses, but we also do custom in-house programs. We do them in Japanese and we do them in English, do them in our super safe classroom. We do them live online. The show today is being brought to you by, on the 5th and 6th of December, we're doing a high impact presentations class. That one's in English. On the 13th of February, we're doing our Dale Carnegie course, 3-day version in Japanese. And on the 14th, we'll be doing our Winning with Relationship Selling program in Japanese. Our website is www.dale-carnegie.co.jp. So that's www.dale-carnegie.co.jp. You can email me at greg.story@dalecarnegie.com. So that's greg.story, STORY, at dalecarnegie.com. If you like learning by watching videos, then we have over 2,300 there for you at Tokyo, Japan, Dale Carnegie TV on YouTube. We release 3 shows every week on YouTube. The Cutting Edge Japan Business Show, that's the premier business show on Japan, every Monday, Tokyo time. Fridays, we have the Japan Business Mastery Show, and on Saturdays, we release Japan's top business interviews, where I interview leaders from SMEs right up to the corporate captains of industry on one topic, leading in Japan. Now, every second Thursday, we release the Business Pro Television. Don't forget to grab my business best-selling books on Japan on Amazon, Japan Sales Mastery, which is Saegyo in Japanese, Japan Business Mastery, and Japan Presentations Mastery, or in Japanese, Anata mo Presen no Tachijin. My other books include Stop Wasting Money on Training, which in Japanese is Training de Okane o Muru ni suru wa yamemashou, and my just released new book is Japan Leadership Mastery, and all are available on Amazon. Welcome back. Dale Carnegie in the US had started online training delivery in 2010. So fortunately, we had specialized manuals for online delivery and certification systems in place for trainers and producers when COVID hit. We could teach them global best practice techniques accumulated over the previous decade. We ran our first online class in March 2020, free for our clients and covering stress management. We quickly found that WebEx at that time had a 100-person limit and we crashed the system. We regrouped and completed the training session. We proved to ourselves that using the Dale Carnegie approach of highly interactive training also in the online training environment was a viable option. Unfortunately, many domestic Japanese companies didn't think so and refused the online option, believing that it couldn't provide sufficient delivery quality compared to face-to-face. That actually wasn't true, but nobody in Japan ever gets fired for foregoing opportunities to embrace change and do something new. They didn't want to return to the classroom and they didn't want to do it online. So with this catch-22, they did nothing. Some of these companies are slowly coming back to face-to-face training. What COVID revealed, though, was that the middle manager level of capability wasn't well developed, having relied only on OJT, and they need to fix this problem. We've been doing a lot of leadership training as a result. The gaps we notice are that the managers are totally undereducated on what is required to be a leader. They spend time on the job so they can run the machine. They can see that it runs on time, to cost, and at the required quality. But these managerial attributes do not make them a leader. The difference between a manager and a leader is that the leader does all of those things a manager does, plus sets a direction for the team, builds the culture, and develops the people. The upshot is that those companies who invest in their people and give their middle managers leadership training will do better in the zero-sum game for retaining staff. People leave bosses, not companies. With the declining population and permanent shortage of people, replacing staff can be extremely difficult and potentially fatal to companies. I believe the continued reliance on the broken OJT system for training leaders is a nonsense and a suicidal choice. Get your people trained if you want to survive this war for talent. Young people are much more mobile, and 1 in 3 are departing their companies after 3 or 4 years and joining the competitors. This is very expensive after they've been trained, and they are hard to replace. With properly educated middle managers, the retention rates will be much higher and will yield a competitive advantage against rivals who've only been trained through OJT. This is no joke, and the consequences of getting the equation wrong are deadly serious. OJT is dead. Companies should stop relying on it and should instead get professional leadership training for their middle managers before it is too late. Thank you for joining the Leadership Japan series. If you found the program useful, then tell your family, friends, and colleagues. Don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. You can contact me at greg.story@dalecarnegie.com. Our website is www.dale-carnegie.co.jp. Until the next episode, take what you thought valuable, put it into action, because idea application is what makes winners winners. So, be one of them. Remember, I'm in your corner, your go-to guy for soft skills training in Tokyo, committed to your success here in Nippon.